Good morning. Today, Dr. Kupperman was scheduled to testify as part of the House impeachment inquiry for a previously scheduled deposition, and he was a no-show. This is deeply regrettable. He was compelled to appear by a lawful congressional subpoena. Just within the last few days, of course, the district court has ruled that the impeachment inquiry is perfectly valid. Witnesses like Dr. Kupperman need to do their duty and show up. I want to compliment the 9 other witnesses who met similar opposition from the White House, who were instructed by the White House not to appear, but honored their lawful obligations and came forward, did their lawful duty. We greatly appreciate the courage that they have shown and that other witnesses will show who are scheduled to appear. The lawsuit that Dr. Kupperman filed in district court has no basis in law. A private citizen cannot sue the Congress to try to avoid coming in when they're served with a lawful subpoena. We expect that the court will make short shrift of that argument, but nonetheless, we move forward. Dr. Kupperman had testimony we believe would corroborate the allegations of misconduct that other witnesses have made. But we move forward, and we will obviously consider, as we inform Dr. Kupperman's counsel, his failure to appear as evidence that may warrant a contempt proceeding against him. In terms of where we are, we have had a full schedule up until this point. We got a full schedule from this point. I think we can infer from the White House opposition to Dr. Kupperman's testimony that they believe that his testimony would be incriminating of the president. It is also, I think, very plain additional and powerful evidence of obstruction of Congress and its lawful function by the president that yet again, and even after a court decision affirming the right of Congress to proceed with this impeachment inquiry, the White House has obstructed the work of a co-equal branch of government. If this witness had something to say that would be helpful to the White House, they would want him to come and testify. They plainly don't. After hearing the testimony or reviewing the written opening statement of Ambassador Taylor, one can easily see why the White House does not want further evidence to come before the Congress. I found it remarkable, I have to say, that the Republican members of our 3 committees, including ranking members on oversight committees, took a position effectively of endorsing the White House obstruction, that the president in an impeachment inquiry or in any oversight inquiry into misconduct can simply instruct senior people not to testify. That is deeply damaging to this institution and any Congress's ability to do oversight, let alone in the important context of an impeachment proceeding. Nonetheless, we go forward, now armed with additional evidence of obstruction, as well as additional inferences that can be drawn that this witness's testimony would further incriminate the President of the United States. And I'm happy to respond to a couple of questions.
Are you concerned that until the court adjudicates this, other witnesses will say they're going to do the same thing and wait for some guidance from the courts before they come testify?
I have more confidence in the witnesses that we've invited to appear and will subpoena to appear, that they will perform as the 9 witnesses that have gone before have, that they will do their duty, that they will honor their lawful obligations, and they will show the kind of courage that these other witnesses have shown.
Mr. Chairman, when you say we're going to move forward, does that mean you're not going to spend resources on pursuing an advanced court process? And also, if this is the sign you're getting from somebody who's as high up as government, does that mean the inner circle of the people that you subpoenaed, like cabinet members, et cetera, Bolton, people like that, you're not hopeful for anymore because of this resistance?
Well, it's hard to say what other senior officials will do. I'm sure they'll get like instructions from the White House, and if they do and they fail to appear, they will be building a very powerful case against the president for obstruction, an article of impeachment based on obstruction. So each time the White House steps in to obstruct Congress from getting documents, and of course we know now that there are any number of very important relevant documents that the State Department is withholding from Congress. But anytime they also withhold witnesses and force them to refuse to appear or attempt to ignore lawful process. They will merely build the obstruction case against the president. In terms of how we will use litigation or not use litigation, we are not willing to allow the White House to engage us in a lengthy game of rope-a-dope in the courts. So we press forward.
Last question.
What does this mean specifically for Ambassador Bolton?
Go ahead, sir.
Will this delay your inquiry, though, if you do decide to pursue this in the courts? Just take a little, add weeks and months, or how long is this going to take for you?
No, we will not allow the White House to delay our investigation. Any acts of obstruction like this, any effort to prevent the Congress and therefore the American people from learning more about the president's misconduct will merely build a public case for obstruction of Congress by this president. And let's keep in mind what we have learned in 2 short weeks, thanks to the courageous testimony of many State Department, Defense Department, and other national security officials. We have learned that a president of the United States abused his power to coerce an ally that is fending off Russian occupation of its territory in order to get political dirt on an opponent, conditioned a White House meeting, and as Mick Mulvaney acknowledged, conditioned military support to fight off an adversary of the United States, conditioned those things on getting political help in the form of an investigation into one of his opponents. I can understand why the president doesn't want these witnesses to come forward. What I find harder to understand is why the Republican members of this body in this House don't want these witnesses to come forward. Where is their duty to this institution? Where is their duty to the Constitution? Where is their respect for the rule of law? This will not be our last president. And as I underscored today, they ought to understand the imperative of a Congress to get information from the executive. Without it, we cannot do our jobs. Thank you.
Contempt